On and all. So today we would be discussing the important topics with previous year questions from MMPC-012 strategic management. Okay. So I have curated this question paper, previous year question paper analysis, based on the question paper that it now have published from June 2022 to December 2025. So here we would be discussing the most important and repeated questions because the IGNOU tends to repeat the question. So you can expect the questions from this video to be in your question paper, at least two or three of them would be in the question paper. I'm like 100% sure. So make sure you learn this. And here I'm just discussing the questions and the important topics only. So it is not a detailed discussion about each topic. So if you want a detailed video, please do comment. So you guys would be having your exams on day after tomorrow. So let's quickly dive into the video. So the first important topic is strategy and features of strategy. So here we would be learning in MMPC 12 what actually is a strategic management, what are the major strategies that we would be using in a using by a manager and organization to have the maximum productivity and also increase the efficiency of the organization. So the first most important topic is strategy and features of strategy. So in the important areas to cover are the meaning, definition of strategy, features of strategy, levels of strategy, importance of strategy, examples. Okay. So whatever the questions be, you should write the meaning, definition, features, levels, importance, and examples. So the each question would be for 20 marks. So getting total of a 20 mark, you have to cover all of this. Okay, even though example is not asked, you have to write the example, then only you will get the good marks. So the questions that have been asked from this particular strategic management section is the first question is define strategy, differentiate between corporate strategy, business strategy, and function strategy. So as I said, we had to study the definition, the functions, and the different types of strategy and levels of strategy. So in 2023, it has been asked the different features of strategy with examples. So even though they haven't asked the example, you should write the example because it will help you to cover increase the length of the answer as well as what to say, get good marks because the a person who is evaluating your paper would understand, okay, this person has understood the concept because he have written the proper example. In June 2025 also it has been asked what you mean by strategy, discuss the features of strategy with suitable example. So this example is very important. Make sure you learn 2 or 3 examples from each section. Okay. So the next thing is strategic management process. So this is also one of the important topic to be covered before you finish the entire revision. So the major topics to cover here is strategic management process. What are the process involved in strategic management? What is environmental scanning? What is strategy formulation? What is strategy implementation? So how can we formulate the strategy? How can then later we implement the strategy? How we do the evaluation and control? So the major processes involved in strategic management, what are the environmental scanning, strategy formulation, strategy implementation, and evaluation and control. So if you have a diagram, just refer the diagram and also make sure that you answer the question with the diagram. So you get the extra marks. So in this December 2023, it has been asked what are the different stages of strategy formulation. Explain each of them briefly. So these questions has been asked for 20 marks each. So first you have to start from what is strategy management, its definition, functions, and what are the formulation methods, and what are the different stages. Explain each stages and give example for each stages. Okay. And the strategy, formulation, implementation, evaluation, and control are integrated. So these are the steps of what strategic management. So elaborate it with examples. How is a strategic management plan formulated? Explain the steps in strategy plan formulation. Explain with suitable examples. Next is what is the process of strategic management? Discuss the stages involved in strategic management of any business organization. Okay. So we have covered the two topics. Next important topic is environmental scanning or environmental analysis. Here we would be dealing with this PESTLE. PESTLE stands for, how many of you know what does PESTLE stands for? If you know it, write in the comment section. And the important areas to cover here is the internal and external environment. These topics have been already covered in this business environment analysis, I think in the first semester subject. And what are the different PESTLE factors, like what does P stand for, E stand for, S and T, L, E stands for. Explain those. What is environmental scanning process, what is global environment. Okay. So these the questions that have been asked from this particular topic is explain the relationship between general environment and strategy. Discuss the process of analyzing external environment. Next question is how can one analyze the external environment? Describe the process. So if a particular question like is asked for 20 marks, how you will formulate the answer? You have to say what is an environmental analysis. So environmental analysis is a part of what strategic management process. So you have to start from strategic management process and then environmental analysis. Then environmental analysis divided to external and internal. Then explain on external environment analysis, what are the processes involved, and key example for the each step. So you can at least cover the 4 pages with these steps. The next question would be how do organizations undertake environment analysis in the global context? You have to learn it. So what are the different factors analyzed under PESTLE framework? Explain any 2 factors in detail. Okay. Evaluate the contribution of environmental analysis in strategic decision making. Briefly summarize the general environment, its relevance for business organization. So you can see this particular topic, environmental analysis, has been asked multiple times. So there is a high chance that what this question can be repeated in the next coming IGNOU exam. So make sure you cover the topic. The next is a resource-based view. So before going to resource-based view, this is going to be a short video. I would be telling what are the kind of questions and which are the most important topics that you should be covering. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe and like and share the video to your colleagues. So it can be useful for everyone, right? And the next important topic is resource-based view, RBV. So here the important topics are what are resources, capabilities, core competencies, competitive advantage, and VRIO. So the questions that has been asked here are discuss how resources differentiate themselves as capabilities and core competencies. Write a short note on resource-based view RBV. Explain the resource-based view approach. Explain the concept RBV and discuss the relationship among resources, capabilities and competitive advantage. So whatever be the questions asked from resources, you have to know what is RBV, what is the relationship between the resources, the capabilities and competitive. So make sure you cover these topics. Okay. The next question is value chain framework. So in value chain framework, the important topics to be covered are what are primary activities, what are support activities, what is value chain analysis, how it is done, strength and weakness. So the questions that are asked are describe the value chain framework and explain how it helps in analyzing strengths and weakness of an organization. Okay. The next question is describe the concept of value chain framework. Write a short note on value chain framework. So make sure that you know what is value chain framework, what are the steps involved, and also what is weakness and strength of the organization. Okay, and how it is evaluated. The next important topic is Potter's 5 forces framework. This is very, very important. We have to know what are the 5 forces, explain it with the diagram, explain it with its application. Okay. Now, the questions asked are briefly analyze Potter's 5 forces framework with the help of suitable diagram. So if you know what are the 5 forces, explain or just put the points in the comment section. So if you're anyone watching this video wants to quickly refer what is 5 forces framework, they could refer it from the comment section. Okay. And the other question is, how does Waters 5 forces framework help in evaluating a competitor strategy? Okay. The next important topic is competitive strategy. That you need to know the meaning, need, competitive advantages, and dimensions. Okay. The questions are: describe the formulation of competitive strategy, discuss the factors determining the formulation of competitive strategy, what is competitive strategy, discuss the dimension for formulation of competitive strategy. So you should know competitive strategy, dimensions, factors determining it, okay, then how it is formulated. Okay. The next thing is Potter's generic strategy. So I'm going to make this video a little bit faster because I need to cover it all those topics in short amount of time. So it would be helpful for you to a quick revision. Otherwise, this video is going to be very long. So the next topic is Potter's generic strategies. So here we would be discussing that important topics to be learned are cost leadership, differentiation, focus strategy, and examples. So explain overall cost leadership strategy with suitable examples. Explain differentiation strategy and its types. So there are different types of strategy like overall cost leadership strategy, differentiation strategy, generic strategies discussed by Porter. So this Porter person is very important in our strategic management. Explain Porter's cost leadership strategy. Again, the other set is cost leadership. So we have to know meaning, types, routes, risk mitigation methods. What is diversification strategy? So this entire subject would be dealing with different types of strategies that can be implemented in the organization for a good performance and growth. So explain the alternative routes of diversification, explain the process of diversification and its types, then how can strategic managers mitigate diversification risk. The other important topic is expansion strategies. You should know what is and soft metrics, okay? Then you should know the integration strategies. So the questions are: explain ANSOF's product market expansion grid with suitable examples. Describe the expansion through integration with examples. Next thing is balance scorecard. So there are 4 perspectives for the balance scorecard. There are critical success factors. There are advantages. You should learn these 3 for the balance scorecard. So the questions are describe the balance scorecard and determine the critical success factors. So what is balance scorecard? Critical success factors affecting it. What do you understand by balance scorecard and its usefulness? Next is modern topic is scenario planning. What is scenario planning? What does it mean? What all the steps are being followed by the scenario planning? What are its advantages? And if there is a disadvantages, you can also mention disadvantages. What are the examples? Okay. Questions are: explain the concept of scenario planning with suitable examples. Describe the concept of scenario planning with the examples. It has been asked multiple times in December and 2023 June. Next one is corporate governance. How is the evolution of corporate governance? Principles, pillars, models important. So this is only having a 3-star importance, which means that first you should refer the 5-star questions. Okay, then you should refer the 4-star questions, and if you have time, you should refer the 3-star questions also. The questions that I have asked here are what are the evolution and pillars of corporate governance. The next then it has been asked: explain the basic models of corporate governance, and next it has been asked: explain any 2 models of corporate governance. So there is corporate governance, there is like models of corporate governance. So there is pillars of corporate governance and how corporate governance has been uh, what is its evolution, how does corporate governance evolution happened. The next important topic is values, vision, and strategy in depth. So what is vision, what is meant by core values, what is core purpose, what is strategic intent. Questions are explain the features and purpose of vision statements. It has been asked in especially in short notes. What is meant by core values? You all know what is core values. Like every organization would be having its core value, vision, mission, aims, and all. So according to that only they would be formulating the strategies. So what is strategic intent? It has been asked for short note question. So again has been asked explain the core values and core purposes. So uh, the most important topics that has been appeared like three or more times and should be prioritized are environmental analysis. This is very important, in which this PESTLE you should answer while expanding this PESTLE term. P stand for, E stand for, you have to expand it and write with examples for the each of them. Okay, then what is strategic management? Strategy and features of strategy. Like I said, there are different types of strategy. Then competitive strategy, resource based view, RBV, right? Okay, my writings are bad because I'm just using a mouse, not the pen. Then Potter generic strategy. This Potter person is very important in strategic management course. So I intended to close this video at 10 minutes, but it's almost 16 or 17 minutes right now. So if you haven't studied anything, or if you haven't started your revision and the exam is going to be in 1 or 2 days, make sure that you learn the 6 topics. Okay, and I'm sure that by learning the 6 topics you can answer the most of the questions, even though direct questions from these if isn't asked. Every questions in the question paper might be related to some of these topics. Okay, so even if you doesn't know the direct answer, just write whatever you know. Okay, so make sure you refer this topic before you go for the exams. Okay, make sure it. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the session and you got the important topics that you should study and how the questions are asked from these important topics. So if time permits, I would be doing the videos for each topic, maybe the most important topics that have been asked. I would explain those. Okay, so that's all. Thank you.